Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Cat and Sam show. Hello, bestie.
Hello.
How are you today?
Mwah. I'm pretty good. I'm just trying to get over the fact that, sometimes we make mistakes in life. And when we were filming last week on that love thing, you were discussing your little blurb.
And I did a very big boo-boo because I was a little bit nervous, right? What was it, our second or third one? But starting out, so I've had to apologise to Simon Golding, one of the so the co-producers on Love are Simon Golding and John West, and because my brain did this sort of weird leapfrog, and I called Simon West. So I missed out the Golding, missed out the John. So I've had to call him up today. I saw it on and I was just like, oh my God. And he says, I mean, I've known Simon like 30 years. So, it wasn't, even if he was massively offended, he's forgiven me. Bless his heart. Because I said, I am so, so sorry. And he said, it's a bit like when you're making love to a woman and she says the wrong name. It was like, oh God. So Jason Figgis, director, editor, Simon Golding, co-producer, John West, co-producer, and then me. So, sorry, Simon. Apologies. So,
and then there's Jason Figgis.
Yes. Did I just say Jason Figgis or did I miss him?
I've
just said Jason Figgis. Oh, you're getting me worried now.
I missed it.
Yeah, no, Jason Figgis, who's the director, editor, and Scott Buckley, who did the music. But Jason found Scott's music. So, but yeah, there was. We've had some adventures already doing this, haven't we?
Yeah, and the movie is just remarkable in the amount of work that you all did in trying to help survivors understand victims, targets, understand what they are in a way as best you could to try not to trigger them so that they could get the information and so could others. So, we can all use a little bit of love even in our mistakes, right?
Absolutely. We can all use a little bit of love in our mistakes. Yeah, and I mean it's for people like the CPS and the police and everything. So they need to understand it. They need to get it. They need to understand. We just had some CPS guidance out today, actually, and it's actually saying that they need to move away from the myths and the stereotypes of what a victim looks like. So it's interesting to see that there's guidance actually coming out from the Crown Prosecution Service now, where they're highlighting that. Whether they actually do fully understand it or not, we'll see. So if we're talking about mistakes, there's been some corkers certainly around the prosecution of domestic abuse, and we do need to alter that.
I don't think that I think it always goes back to, I'm probably going to drive this hard, but I think it always goes back to Gary's going to stop that. I can't. I got something going on in my head right now. It's hilarious. I'm just thinking about what Simon said about making love to a woman and they say the wrong thing, and I just said, I'm going to drive it hard. Oh my God.
Oh dear, we're having a bit of a mucky Monday here.
Gary's going to have to put a rating on this one to conclude it. Anyway, I think that I'm going to, now I got to figure out what I was going to drive hard. I'm going to drive hard the fact that in society, we can't expect society to make laws and enact them in police stations and judicial arenas if they don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what it is. They know that hitting is bad and that we shouldn't be hitting each other. I mean, that's assault, you know, and it has a different name too, like domestic violence. Why does it have to be different? It's assault.
Yeah.
So, and I think your film talked about that too as well, the domestic and why, you know, we put up with something at home that should be somewhere we feel safe. Anyway, that's probably another topic we could talk about.
Jeez.
But there's such a harsh reality that happens. Well, I'm going to back it up a little bit. When you're in those relationships and you make a mistake that somebody else has decided is a mistake, can be the slightest thing that shouldn't even be on anybody's radar. Like,
So what was some of
you don't know how to load a dishwasher after you've been loading them. All of a sudden, you don't know how to load a dishwasher. You need to load it this way. And
how much?
who cares as long as
So how much water you're using to mop a floor, or how you're cutting the bread, how you're hanging out the washing, how you iron the shirts, how you make the bed. Suddenly, because it's it's the and it's interesting that you're talking about loading dishwashers and that's sort of like those household things. So it's the moving of the goalposts, isn't it? So somebody moves the goalposts on you and then says, "Well, you've just made a mistake." It's like, well, once they've this is when I said like this farcical stuff in it. When you start talking about these things out loud of what targets end up having to go through, it's if you put that into a comedy, it would be hilarious because it's just ridiculous. It's like Monty Python gone wrong, but it is absolutely brutal when it's in an abusive relationship, because you can never rest, you can never settle, you can never relax, and your stress levels are just through the roof the whole time.
Right. And you kind of hit it on another video that we did where like the rage or the silent treatment. So it's not just it's the constant gaslighting of attacking minute things that don't really have much meaning other than to just confuse you. And actually, confusion is a huge red flag if you're confused, because if people are sitting here listening to us and we're talking back and forth, my bet is that they don't get confused by what we say. Now, when we laugh at maybe a whole different story, but you should be able to have conversations with people like, I'd prefer you didn't load the dishwasher that way because I feel like the cups aren't getting clean on the top, and but I'm finding dishes with scraps of food on them and it's bothering me. Different story than you're not loading that right. And it needs to be loaded this way. And it's a very right? Do you understand?
I do. And it's that thing of you are making a mistake, but the passive aggression that can come in as well. So with mine, all the household stuff. Talking about dishwashers, right? And
I got the dishwasher lesson.
So did you get a dishwasher lesson? Okay. Well, mine, I would sort of say to him, can you actually bring your own coffee cup and teacup in, and put it in the dishwasher. And his response to that every single time was to put his cup, there was a little tile just on the work surface, just above, literally right above the dishwasher. And instead of opening the dishwasher and putting in his mug in, he would put it on the tile really precisely right on the top. But he would not put it in the dishwasher. And it's like when he said, about not liking how I like the washing hung out, I said, well, do it yourself then. Wash out, hang out your own washing. But then it becomes the silent treatment and I mean, if you decide say you've always liked mashed potato, and then you say, I just really don't like mashed potato at the moment. I don't want any mashed potato. That's absolutely fine. People can change their minds. People can change their behavior, but what an abuser will do is not tell you they don't want mashed potato anymore, and then will berate you for giving them mashed potato. So like you're supposed to be a mind reader. So that's the manipulation and the gaslighting and stuff, and then they'll say that they told you when they never did. And that's when you start thinking you've got Alzheimer's, or you've got, I know one lady, she'd booked herself a brain scan because she thought, her memory was so bad. There's nothing wrong with her memory. But it's the way the communication is done.
Well, and interestingly enough, so the person brings in the coffee cup, puts it on the tile. The message is, you asked for something that would be helpful to you. And the answer was, I'm not going to do that. And I am above doing that. And if you challenge me putting that coffee mug on that tile, it's going to be more than likely a confrontation that will last for a long time.
Yeah.
Not just like it will continue.
Oh yeah.
For years, months, weeks, in different ways, to let you know that it is unacceptable for you to challenge, and it goes back to that competition. There is a competition that they don't want you to have the autonomy. They don't want you to be your own person, but they don't come out and say that. They do it in small ways to let you know, just like you were talking about just a second ago, in mind reading.
And
how are you supposed to mind read and put downs? And when you confront it, then it's never solved, which is why I talk about confusion. Because like if you and I have a problem, and we've had some problems, you and I have a problem, I might say to you, okay, we really need to cut down the laughter.
Don't get it started.
Right. But we've had that conversation where, we need to settle down the laughter, especially when we're talking about important things. You and I both know that if the other one laughed, we would just crack up anyway. And it's not a big conversation. But if I said to you, hey, Sam, it's really bothering me when I'm doing the dishes, and you set your dish like right above the dishwasher. Could you just put it in the dishwasher so I don't have to deal with that all the time? It's kind of irritating to me. What would be your response, Sam?
I'd just say, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't realise. And of course I can.
And then would it probably be discussed ever again?
No.
Right, because it would just be handled.
And invariably, I would probably automatically put it in the dishwasher in the first place. I wouldn't put it on the side expecting somebody else to come and clear up after me.
Right.
The only time I might do that is if the dishwasher was full, say, or, it was on a cycle already. But actually, as an autonomous and adult, because we have to remember we're talking about people who are adults here, not children.
Right.
And
It's true.
so much of what they do is so childish, childisher rather than, it's actually not fair on children in lots of ways. Immature, terrible twos or whatever. But you just do it as an adult in the same home. You would just do it and not expect somebody to. You're both working, whether you're in the home or whether you're out of the home, unless that's some job division that you've decided between you and agreed to do. I just put my dishwasher in. I just put my plate in there, and then probably say to you, "Kat, have you got anything else you need to go in the dishwasher?" That's just normal adult human behavior.
Right, and it's just never that way. And the lies. So there's a little bit of truth in what they say, but the palate is a lot of manipulation and lies on that same plate. So, there may be a story about how my mom was so mean to me or my dad was so mean to me and I couldn't put the dishes in the dishwasher correctly. And you later find out that he never touched a dish in his life. All it was to manipulate you, to see how far he could push you, and also to whittle you down to let you know he is the boss or they are the boss. Because women do this to men too in relationships as well, where women are belittling to their male partners. It's generally one that is that way. A narcissist won't be with another narcissist. It's too much of a fight to see who's going to win.
Yeah.
So that's usually not the dynamic in these relationships.
And I was thinking, I know we're going to have a guest on in the future. Who's talking about illness, illnesses caused by domestic abuse or. And what's interesting is even when we talk in our podcasts, and I realise how many times I say, you get to the point where you just give up. And talking about the household chores and stuff, or it always being a mistake, it always being wrong, to the point where you just go, sod it, you just give in, or it's just not worth the challenge. And that apparently I didn't know this for a while, but that's a trauma response. And that's a big trauma response where you just don't bother anymore. And I didn't realise that, I don't know a huge amount about trauma responses, so I'll be really interested in that podcast. But that was something that a clinical professional told me, was that I don't think of trauma responses in that way. I think of panic attacks or, sort of really quite obvious trauma, bad nightmares, things like that. But that getting to the point where you don't bother anymore is a trauma response, which I didn't know.
The trauma responses. The question I wanted to ask you is, when you left, could you make a decision? Did you have troubles making decisions?
Oh, absolutely. I went from somebody who made their own decisions all the time, to somebody who I had to ask somebody else's, almost looking for somebody else to give me permission to do the smallest things. I must have been the most annoying person under the sun. But that's what and I think I still do it now. It's one of the things that you learn to once you've identified it. But it's not just saying, what do you think? It's literally asking somebody's permission that it's okay to do something. And so yes, it took me ages. It took me ages to look in the mirror. It took me ages to get used to hearing my name being said, because it was always the nicknames. So there's so much that you have to get used to on an immediate front. And I do wonder sometimes if part of this moving the goalposts and everything else is to keep
that decision
you in that. Oh no, it is definitely a decision. It was so, sometimes it got to the point where it was so obvious, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, decisions.
But whether
it's a huge thing with domestic violence that people don't talk about, is the inabilities to make decisions. When you sat there and you can't even you ask for something, help with something, and you're gaslighted, you're berated, you're isolated on a daily. We could talk about the cycle of abuse. Some people, it can happen for a whole month. Some people, it can happen within 2 to 3 seconds, where you're in the honeymoon phase, and then all of a sudden you're in the depths of argument that came from nowhere, and it leaves you off center. And so that's part of that. I believe that's part of that, not being able to make those decisions when we leave, and so, or anytime, because of fear of all of that mess.
It's like a muscle that's been permanently damaged. And I think one of Chief Inspector Sharon Baker, her videos on YouTube as well. So she did a video, Chief Inspector of Police, and she actually says in the video she had, this full team that she was in charge of. She made all of these life and death decisions during the day. She got home and she couldn't even make a cup of coffee. She'd have to ask if she should have a cup of coffee or not. It was like, and how could she be both things? But in the work, she felt she was safe and she knew what I was doing. But once she got home, and she actually says that in that video. So so when people say, "Oh, why don't they leave?" And when they do leave, that is one of the biggest decisions you can make. It comes out of a place of sheer you're running away with nothing from something. Who in their right mind is going to do that unless home is a desperately dangerous place?
Well, I mean, we have people that stay that are in. I was going to say, we have people that also stay in desperately dangerous situations because they don't want to be homeless.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to share time with their children, and their children having time alone with the abusers. There's a myriad of reasons why people don't leave. It's not as easy as just going to the court, getting a divorce papers, and then we're going to take these people that couldn't get along and make them get along after a divorce.
It's not even in the same
when
arena.
There's right where abuse is in the arena. It's not the same.
It's just completely.
It's not the same conversation.
Yeah, but I think also that moving of the goalpost, this sort of constant changing of how you've made a mistake or not made a mistake, I think is to stop you being able to think. the brain scrambling that does all the time, and then the stress levels of is everything how it should be, so that I don't get a reaction, a negative reaction, added to things like economic abuse. So we've got the financial crisis at the moment, middle of winter, and it means that anybody who was thinking about leaving, they can't. So there's a big thing in the UK at the moment about that. So you take all of those combinations. Hopefully, we're going to talk about all of them. But they're just ones off the cuff. So you've got a brain that's been damaged to the point where you literally can't think straight, because you're never given the time to do that. That's the thing as well. I think that's the other thing. Did you ever have time to just chill out, relax, just be you, ponder things, think, question?
I'll tell you where I could go to do that would be a movie. But even in the movie, I couldn't concentrate on the movie because I didn't know what was going to happen after the movie. There's and I don't think you get to understand it until after you leave, of what you've been under and the pressure that you've been under, because it's so minute, and it's just survival. And I think we can talk about mistakes well into a lot of videos. Yeah. But for right now, we're going to cut this one, and we'll come back and talk about it at another time. Thank you. I'll see you in a bit.
See you in a while.
Hello. Thank you for watching our channel today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell for any new content, and find us on Patreon and your favorite podcasts. We hope we're one of them. Bye-bye.